I want to welcome all my friends to this wonderful place to actually meet a legendary person, Professor Eugene Kontorovichich. How are you?
Great to see you. Great to be here.
Great to see you, and it's an honor for me to be here. And I just want to express my tremendous gratitude to Mr. Kontorovich. I can call also Eugene because he comes from Kiev. Evgeny даже, as actually my family came from Kiev as well. So we actually coming from the same place in a way. One of my children, one of my sons, at a certain point in his life was kind of influenced by mainstream media. And he got pretty critical about the Israeli policy and Israeli occupying force, because Al Jazeera and Google News, and he didn't really understand what it is at the time. And then when he heard that I'm about to meet Professor Kontorovich, so he said to me, please send my regards and my great thanks for saving my life. He influenced me, he changed my mind, he changed my mind. Because many people were very emotional, many people spoke about God, many people spoke about, our motherland and so on. However, in terms of legal terms, speaking from like a common sense perspective, that would change my mind, and that helped me after I graduated my high school to come to Israel to study in yeshiva, then serve in IDF and Golani. Then he made a decision to make Aliyah, and he lives in Israel. Because of you, dear Eugene, I want to thank you, really, I want to thank you tremendously. And since you have such an amazing power of conviction, and you helped my son, so I hope you will help many more of our students, our community, to understand, and put things in the right perspective.
Thank you so much. It's really touching, and it's an amazing story. It's hard for me to believe, because I'm a law professor. I teach international law, and what I do is I give lectures on Israel and international law, which I didn't think could affect anyone, but when I think about it, I see there's a reason why the principal arguments one hears against Israel today, they're all framed in a particular language, and that is the language of international law. When you hear things like Israel is an occupying power is a technical term in this discipline of international law, with a particular meaning that comes from treaties. It's a precise term, a scientific term. When you hear that Israeli settlements are illegal, these are all technical terms within a very particular abstruse body of knowledge. When you hear apartheid, these are all technical terms with legal definitions. And I think there's a few reasons why the attack on Israel is typically made in this obscure language, because most people, in fact, are not international law professors, don't know much about international law, and it's hard for them to evaluate these claims. So the fact that they're simply made often and repeated widely gives them credence. And having heard these claims for many years myself, I realized I actually have personally, as a law professor, as an international law professor, the tools, some particular tools, to explain how these terms and ideas are being misused, perverted, and really applied to Israel in a way that they're not applied in any other context. In fact, international law has, in many senses, become a polite code or a polite form of euphemism for expressing the most traditionally distasteful views about Jews, and applying exceptional treatment and exceptional principle to Jews. But you need to know a little bit about international law to see that. So that's what I do, and I'm glad it can help somebody.
Thank you so much. Not only you can help, you did help, and I'm sure that you're going to help, of course, to many more people from our community. We want to wish you continuous success, especially because now we know that famous Eugene Kontorovichich, famous professor, even though you continued to be professor in America.
I spent time in Israel, and I'm here too, yes.
You spent time in Israel, and our hearts with you in Israel. I want to thank you so much. And of course, like I kind of, maybe last question want to ask you, and please say no if you don't want to answer. Imagine you speak to one of these guys that you in a very polite language said that they are anti-Zionists, but indeed they are old-fashioned anti-Semites. And the cover-up of this international law, legalities, and all these questions is just the same old-fashioned hatred towards you Jews. And the guy happens to be Jewish. Can you imagine? Yes, we know some Jewish people who were brainwashed in different campuses and different places, and now they continue to repeat the slogans. And if you have just a minute or less, if you want to make this person at least think about it, if there's anything that we can say that will make them at least rethink their anti-Israeli slogans. If there's any idea, any thought that we can, like in terms of a brief question or brief statement that we can make?
I don't know if I have any magic pill, but I'll tell you, Zionism is simply the idea that Jews have the rights that other people have to have a national homeland, to have a country of their own. We know that when Jews were in Europe, nobody wanted them there. And everybody thought the Jews were disgusting and contemptible because they lacked their own nation. They were rootless cosmopolitans. That was one of the big criticisms of Jews. You're not a real people. You may be a religion, but how can you be a real people if you don't have a place, if you don't have a country? So it's one of the great ironies is that when the Jews were stateless, when they didn't have their land, the biggest ideology in the Western world was nationalism. In the 19th century, everyone was a nationalist. In the beginning of the 20th century, everyone was a nationalist. When did nationalism become uncool? I would date it to shortly after World War II, or almost amazingly, exactly as soon as the Jews got a nation state. Everyone went from being a nationalist. The trendy intellectual idea used to be nationalism. Today, it's universalism. Today, everyone knows we're supposed to be like John Lennon, imagine, no languages, no differences, no religions, everyone kumbaya holding hands together. But that's a new idea. And when did that idea start? Exactly the moment the Jews got their own nation. So it's really amazing. I don't know what's behind it, but it seems it lines up very perfectly. When Jews didn't have a country, what was the biggest idea in the air? That it's disgusting to be a people without a country. You're not a real people. And as soon as the Jews have a country, what's the new idea? It's horrible to have a country, to want a country, to be a nationalist. Unless maybe you're a Palestinian, that's a separate category. But certainly for Western people, you shouldn't want or love your own country. So you'd think there's a contradiction between these two things. But there's no contradiction. It makes complete sense. The unifying theme is, whatever is the situation of the Jews at the time, is what the ideas of the world see as bad or problematic. And when you see that big history picture, you see that where you are now, you're just caught in this moment of these broad historical waves that are fundamentally unified by hostility to the Jewish people.
Thank you so much. And by the way, we write down Ramot. Ramot is one of the neighborhoods of Jerusalem, actually the largest, the biggest. I think about 60,000 Jews. About 60,000 Jews live in Ramot. Actually, Ramot is not in the borders of the 1967 or 48.
I believe that is a complicated question. I believe that actually it's in the no man's land, parts of the...
Specifically Ramot.
Parts of it, depends where you are.
Yeah, but some other people say, oh, that was already illegal settlement. Yeah. So what do you call all the settlements around Jerusalem, including Neve Daniel and some Gush Etzion and Nogdim and everything else? If someone will say to me, oh, listen, you live in a legal settlement, there is any simple, so to speak, answer?
No, you have to listen to the lecture.
Okay, guys, are you ready? So we're gonna put one of your lectures as a comment to this, right?
Sure.
We're gonna put one of the YouTube lectures, and we hope that you will educate yourselves. And most importantly, I believe that your information, your knowledge, should be internalized by I believe every Jew, to
No, it's not just for Jews.
and not only for Jews, to understand why Jewish land belongs to the Jewish people. Correct?
Yeah, and as a matter of international law, why Israel has a right to this land.
It's such an important topic. I want to thank you all, and we hope to see you with Dr. Kontorovich classes and presentations in the future. All the best. Shalom from Yerushalayim.